I have a feeling that everyone who may have watched or called in is probably playing in this No Kiss tournament right now, which is a little unfortunate. Let's see how far they are along here. Yeah, it looks like they're potentially finishing up round 1 here. I'll probably give it, I don't know, 5 minutes or so. See how we do. I think that's Charlotte, or is that Timmy? Thank you. Whichever one of you it is. Timbo, there you go. I was sorry to see. I'm gonna screw it up again. I think it was you who applied for CRC, right? Or was that an April Fool's post? Regardless, I was sorry to see you didn't get a spot. Nice. I'm also still waiting on Beastmode here, so we may have to freestyle for a little bit. Were you really close? What was the... Let me look at the final vote breakdown here. Or did they say what it was? Poet's spreadsheet is very confusing. Who's candidate GG? You were HH. I don't think my brain is large enough to understand this sheet Poet has put together. Oh yeah, okay. As far as I can tell, well, you were not last, from what I could tell. Looks like you survived until, really until the last round of voting. You were in contention, the way that Poet does it. So there were 7 rounds of reallocation of votes, and you made it to the last round. So that's pretty good, I would say. What was your platform? I'll be honest with you, I did not, outside of the captain's vote for the first 2 spots, I did not vote. So I apologize. I maybe could have swung the balance in your favor. I like your any answer Beastmode provides is wrong. Seems reasonable. Hey, what's up, Big Bad? Congratulations, by the way, on wiring a large sum of money here shortly, if you haven't already. Yeah, I know. Well, you know, I'm not gonna blame Anti-Re here, but the post for the Nightcap was made prior to the post for the tourney. So again, no blame here. But Anti-Read did react to my post in content and then announced a tournament. So take that how you will. But looks like we got some people filtering in. Still waiting on Beastmode. I think I know what he's doing, but I don't think I can say what it is. So I assume he'll show up eventually. And then as people finish this tourney up, hopefully we'll get some people. True. I will say, and maybe we can start here, and we can kind of follow back up with Beastmode if and when he does join us. But the CRC this season... Oh, he's in the waiting room. There you go. I wasn't paying attention. You're late. It's not that I ignored you, you're just late.
Excuse me. Scored link at my time, maybe 10:59, 11:50, whatever, 9:59 your time.
Yeah.
Which I'd say is not the best notice, but I made a commitment that I'd be here on time, so I instantly clicked that link and joined the waiting room.
Well, you know, I was under the assumption that since you'd been in the server before, you wouldn't have left. So it was more just a courtesy invite more than anything else.
I was under the assumption that we were friends and maybe you'd draft me one time and I feel permanently at home in your server. But here we are.
It's tough. Well, I was just about to respond to Big Bad here. He said something about CRC being snaked. What else is new? But wanted to transition that into season 32 as a whole from a commissioner's perspective. I guess give me your broad overview on how the season went.
Yeah, for sure. From like a relatively unbiased point of view, call it the best season of MLTP that's ever happened. Storylines in majors, storylines in minors, storylines in NLTP that you really can't replicate, and you can't find not just in any other season of Tag Pro, but you can't find them in any other esport. So, you know, to have been able to be part of that experience alongside my comrades, Cheese Doodle, Big Bad, Spheroid, and PK, it's extremely special. But, you know, the real shout out goes to the players and everyone involved. The league wouldn't be what it is without the players, so appreciate all them, especially the winners.
There you go. So one of your big changes, which I will take partial credit for, was the introduction of home maps this season. How do you think that played out, and changes you might make to that in the future?
Yeah, for sure. So, first of all, check the logs. I was talking about home maps maybe at least a year before I was on the CRC, but definitely shout out to you for giving it some of the momentum that it needed to make its way to the mainstream. Home maps was a huge success. I think obviously with any change you get a bunch of these boring BDL type people who are just not as into it as much, but overall when you evaluate what it was able to do to viewership, what it was able to do to league engagement, what it was able to do to the actual play, it was a ton of fun to be part of, and it's, you know, far from a perfect system, and I think ideally the CRC keeps home maps in and continues to evolve what it could be, but it really to me is the start of a system that can make the league a lot more exciting and then possibly usher in new maps for like permanent play.
So we saw, like, for example, I can't remember, I think it was Blob's team, whichever team PK was on, had that atrocity of a map, Corners. Would you be in favor of being a little more restrictive of what a home map constitutes in future seasons?
So let me take a few steps back and say a map like Corners was never supposed to enter into the league through the system we proposed. How did it happen? Spheroid is a dick, and he started downvoting every map that wasn't like a premier MLTP majors type map. So with that came a collection of people on the map approval committee, myself included, who were saying, fuck you, Spheroid, you can't like downvote like Smirk. Like that's not in the spirit of the system. So we just upvoted every single map that came in. a
So
little
it's,
immature on on our side, but it was also really good to be able to see like what a map like Corners would look like in minors. But for the concept to continue to evolve and get a lot more mainstream type appeal, um, we can't let atrocities like that in the league ever again.
so it was really just a spite edition more than anything else.
It's a Spite edition and a little mini experiment on top of that. Yeah.
Gotcha. And yeah, what other? So you also championed more Discord engagement.
Wait, time out. Let's stay on
Yes.
home maps for one more topic.
Please go
So
ahead.
I think the biggest thing that we're seeing, and I actually see NLTP players talking about it the most interesting enough, is whether stats should be counted on home maps.
Yeah.
Um, Originally, in the introduction of what this concept was, it was a compromise that we would not count stats because we thought there was a possibility that maybe we were going too far in with radical change, and especially these like boring BDL type people who really care about their stats and making sure that they're equalized across every single person so they can nerd out and be like haha. We wanted to preserve that because we know that some majors players do care about that, but I think ultimately what we did see was a lot more players were bummed out that their performance on their home map wasn't captured in the overall holistic look at how they're doing in the season. With a change like ensuring that meme maps like Corners do not enter rotation, I would fully endorse stats counting across every single league for home maps.
And I guess even so, I guess maybe depending on tier size, but my assumption is in at least one or maybe two leagues, every team's not going to play the other. No concerns about unequal stats in that case. Everyone not playing the same maps.
Yeah, so let me put this in perspective. I think football is king. The Tag Pro is great, but if there's any sport that beats Tag Pro, it's football. Some teams have easier schedules than others. Sometimes teams go to overtime. They're not doing this nitty-gritty stuff to nitpick stats, because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is do you have a ring at the end of the season? And I think the more that we can incentivize greatness, winning championships, that's just better for the league. So heaving into these players who are so worried about, oh, I didn't play this team and I played that team, I didn't play on that map, that played on that map. I think that's just putting focus on the wrong things.
No, that made sense to me. I really don't care. I think stats should count. It made sense. I think.
Yeah, and ultimately it's up to the new CRC to really decide. I think I've heard Nameless's point of view. He would not want stats to count there, but
Interesting.
he's more of a boring BDL type. I'd anticipate some guy like Anti-Re might want it to count, so that's ultimately going to be up to them to decide. But as one of the greatest CRC members, if not the greatest CRC member of all time, I endorse it. I think that should be, taken into account.
Anything else on home maps you want to touch on?
Nope, those were the two. Just more rigid selection, and now that Spheroid is gone, that's going to be a lot easier to attain, and then making stats count after that.
Made sense to me.
I think the playoff system worked exceptionally well. Some teams didn't want to play their home map as much. I think that's a learning for them to pick a better home map next season.
Agreed.
We want to give you a map that gives you an advantage in the playoffs.
Yeah, really the one, since I was so involved in minors, really the only team I knew that really didn't want to play their home map was We the People. Seemed like everyone else was at least interested in keeping it in the pick band rotation. Yeah, I thought it was an interesting advantage.
The Weed the People storyline of the season, though, right?
Yeah.
They had this first place team, and then they traded MC Ride, and MC Ride made their home map. So I think really to just really separate themselves from everything associated with him.
Yeah,
for whatever
a
reason,
clean break. Yeah.
They had to get rid of the home map selection there.
No, that made sense to me. Okay, so home maps, we got Discord engagement. That was a big campaign point for you. Some things I think were better than others. Give me your thoughts on I guess increasing community engagement.
Yeah, I'd call this my biggest transformative success on the CRC.
Okay.
I think it worked. People were extremely engaged. I was getting harassed in DMs about awards. That's the type of engagement that you fucking want to see. Um, People cared, you know? People wanted to work extra hard to get that award for the week, and people were voting in the polls a lot. So some things worked, some didn't. You know, I kind of took an all-in approach, and ideally the CRC kind of cuts down on what I pushed through. The one thing I'm the most bummed about is the highlights channel. I wish there was a lot more engagement there. It's easy enough to clip a highlight, and we know that we're getting the views on the Twitch streams, but that's one I think was probably the biggest letdown. The box scores was a really good idea. That one's just so hard to execute, and shout out to Poet for everything that he did and tried there, but the actual way to crack the code there is basically impossible without having someone spend an enormous amount of time just creating the box scores. But things like awards, I'd love to stay. Things like polls, I think is going to be a mainstay forever. We just need to rely on the volunteers in the league to keep things like that going, and something like awards, I'm more than happy to do.
Yep.
For minors. I probably won't do it for majors anymore. Probably won't for NLTP, but ideally the CRC could pick, or even the Discord admins could pick certain people to just own those initiatives. Is that something that they want to do?
Yeah,
I think people enjoyed it a lot.
I think I would agree with that. I think from my perspective, I really enjoyed, as you say, the awards in particular. I thought were really awesome. You know, I don't know. The highlights thing, it feels like it really. And I don't know why it is, but like Dope has said it multiple times about him trying to make top plays. It's hard to get people to send highlights for some reason. I don't really understand it.
You know, I thought this would be like a lower barrier to entry type deal than top plays, because with top plays, like I'm not clipping someone's top play and sending it to Dope. Like that's just not something I'd do, but it's easy enough to post a cool highlight in a Discord channel. And we actually saw some like really cool ones like in the beginning of the season. I don't know if you remember that crazy like all tiger. I think it was on Willow. He hit the bomb into the corner and it was just kind of like the cleanest cap of all time. I doubt that was the only super clean cap of the season, but it just fell off after. So
it's too bad. I would agree with you. I would have thought as you say, a barrier to entry. It's certainly less effort. So I am disappointed in that. But I guess I only posted one or two myself, so it's hard to criticize too much.
You know, you're also streaming a ton, and I don't think the onus should be on the streamer. It should be on the viewers, in my opinion. Because when you post your own highlights there, you just look like a tool.
Let me see. Kelvin. Oh yeah. So this will. What do you think about the regular season structure? How you guys structured? I'll call them pods. Did you think that was a success? Kelvin's talking about how Papranos ended up a 7 seed, even though they were really the second best team in the league. Do you think that worked as it should have? Could you have done anything differently?
Yeah, let me start by again saying football is king. Football is tag pro is the second best sport of all time. You know, football is the best.
Yep.
It's extremely. I'm thinking about the mid 2000s Steelers and Ravens in the AFC. Maybe I'm forgetting about the Patriots and Colts here, but let's say they didn't exist. It's those two teams that are always fucking slugging against each other, who are often the first and second best team in the league, and one of them is a 5 seed and the other is a 1st seed, and that's just the way it is.
Yep.
I don't know, 2013 Seahawks and 49ers, another example.
Yep.
2 best teams in the league, one's a 1 seed, the other's a 5 seed. I'll admit, I'm a huge fan of the pods, and when we're dealing with a league size as big as minors was, I think it really is the only viable solution. And I think I always enjoy comparing like pod parity just to point out the funny differences. No team is actually getting fucked over. Like what, 80%, even more of the teams made playoffs.
Yep.
So, um, the fact that the Sopranos were a 7 seed, I think, was a inconsequential part of their season, especially considering they took it all home.
Yeah, I mean, to me, number one, to repeat what you said, we had 4 teams out of 18 missed playoffs or whatever it was. I mean, if you can't make playoffs in that system, I don't know what to tell you. Number one. And then number two, and I always have a hard time verbalizing this, but with a league where you play 6 weeks of games and there's 18 teams, there's no grouping or scheduling system that's going to be fair. You know? Like, no matter how you do it, someone is always going to, quote unquote, get shafted. You know? I don't know. There's just, to me, there's really no good way to do it in pods, or just make just as much sense as any other system.
For sure. And I think if there was a scenario, which I think, would be ideal in a more competitive league, where a normal amount of teams made playoffs, call it like 40 to 50%, I think that's when we'd have to reevaluate. But considering where we were as it relates to the percentage of teams making playoffs, I can't tell you if any team got fucked out of playoffs. Like, the teams that made bottom seeds didn't even deserve to make playoffs. So the teams that didn't make it, like, absolutely didn't deserve to be there.
Yep. All right, we got Kelvin in the waiting room. Let me drag him in here. What's up, Kelvin? Testing.
Hey.
What's going on, man?
So I like the pods, although I think there's a small contradiction where you're talking about where the us being the 7 seed didn't really matter, and I think that's fair. But at the same time, it means some teams have a harder path through the playoffs. And wait, I forgot what I was gonna say.
That's a good point, though. No, you're onto something here. That was good. So you're saying other teams kind of got fucked over a little because they had to play you when they deserved to be playing a worse team.
Yeah, that too.
No, that's a good point. Even if I just made it.
Well, I don't know that I agree with that, because we're picking playoff opponents, right? So I don't know, like the Pop Fusties. If any other good team wanted to play them, they could have in the first round. I don't think they're being penalized for the Sopranos being the 7th seed there. Like, we the people, whoever was second because they had the bye, but whoever was second could very easily pick Cheese and Company instead of having them fall to the 4th or 5th pick, and they play the Sopranos, right? So I think the playoff selection kind of nullifies that a little bit, I would think.
I think there's credence to, is that the right word?
Yeah.
There's credence to winning your division or winning your pod. That to me should mean something. That means this group of competitors that you were paired against at the beginning of the season, you came out on top of them, and because of that, you deserve an advantage over the people who didn't win their pod. So,
Oh, I remembered my point. So, you're saying it doesn't really matter if you're like the playoff seeding, because we were the 7th seed, right? So at least to me, that feels like it makes the regular season matter even less, especially when all but 4 teams actually make the playoffs. So at least for us, we were having a good time in the regular season trying to fight basically with We the People for the 1 seed, and we ended up losing that battle. But it kind of, when the argument is like, oh well, it doesn't really matter if you're the 1 seed or the 7 seed in the playoffs. It's like, well, why are we even trying in the regular season if we know by week 3 whether we're going to make the playoffs or not?
I don't remember. Did I say it doesn't matter what seed you are?
To some extent.
No, but it's sort of just from the like the second best team is 7 seed kind of deal. It's like, oh well, if that's a good system, then does it really matter what your playoff seed is?
Sure. I think just going back again, there's advantages to winning your pod and winning your division. It was actually like a probably crazy scenario where we had the top 2 teams in the league in the same pod, which I'm no statistician, but that seems pretty unlikely to happen again. But
Yeah,
I do see where you're coming from.
yeah. I do think it's possible that there might be a better way to distribute the pods so that that doesn't happen every season.
How
I
would
mean,
you how would you suggest redistributing them?
Um, so people make a lot of power rankings, right? And they're not all correct. But as far as I could tell, we the people and us were pretty high up on most people's power rankings. I think taking sort of an average of all the power rankings, picking one team from the top third, bottom third, and middle third for the pods could be a smarter way of doing it. It wouldn't be perfect, but I think you'd end up with a lot fewer pods where it's 2 middle high teams and one of the bottom 4 teams in a pod. Or in our case, the 2 top teams and then another team. Could work out nicely, might not. I just think there's how are they selected this season? Was it just random?
I thought it was by TC adjustments. Is that true, Beast?
Honestly, I have no idea.
Okay, that's good. I think in the past it's been done. I know at least one minor season a couple of seasons ago. I believe they did it based on captain tag coin adjustments, which obviously doesn't really compensate for how well you draft.
Yeah.
It's honestly probably as much of a crapshoot as doing it by power rankings would be. So I mean, I would be down to at least give it a shot.
Yeah. I mean, it's not.
I don't even see a problem with it being completely random. Again, I think it's an extreme chance that the top 2 teams got in the same pod, and if that happens, I think that's just part of the league to me. You guys ended up winning even though you didn't win your pod, and I think that's kind of like a testament to I don't know. I had a thought, but I'm off the CRC. I'm living.
No, I mean, it was definitely lit a fire under us.
For sure.
We felt like we us against the world, right? When that happened, when we got the 7 seed, we're like, yeah, we're gonna show these guys we shouldn't have been the 7 seed.
Yeah.
And I think that actually helped us a lot. So I'm not really saying that we were screwed out of any seeding or anything. Just that it was a bit weird, and I don't think if there's a way to sort of patch that in the pod system, then I would be in favor. But all in all, I think the pod system is a lot better than what we used to have, especially for a much larger league. It doesn't make sense.
For sure. I think just agree with you. Any attempt to, I know Beastmode, you don't really care if it's random or not, and whether good teams end up together or not. But I think we should be trying to distribute it as fairly as we can to make for, I guess, as parity filled a season as we can. So that's just me. Alright, Kelvin, anything else we can do for you? Do you want to shout out your championship roster or anything like that?
Yeah, shout out Flaccid, Bergie, Beef. We had a good thing going.
Yeah,
we're all homies. I think friendship wins championships.
Oh, let me ask you this actually. Um, were there any teams you had a pretty easy run up until the championship? I think your two series went to five, or one series went to 5 games, and then you swept 2 of them. Were there other teams besides We the People that you had seen as maybe a team you didn't want to play, or teams you thought could compete with you for a title?
Well, we were a little bit worried about Mercury Revolutions because we had struggled against them earlier. And that ended up being not, we didn't need to worry about that.
Yo.
I think we had actually leveled up our play between the time when we played them before and in the playoffs. And I don't think they changed too much about the way they play. I was still surprised with our performance. I think we did a lot better than any of us thought we would. But that was them. Pop Fusties, we'd beaten them in the regular season, and they actually, I think they were probably the biggest contender in the playoffs for us.
Interesting.
It was, we were sort of struggling to get it together. I think when it clicked, we had the series.
So when you say struggling to get it together, was that before or after you won Game 1 11-5?
Well, that's a good point. I think, see, there are still 5 caps on the end there.
Right.
And we had a whole thing this season where if the other team capped 5 times, no matter what we did, we lost like 90% of the time or something. And I think that's, we blew out a lot of teams with a lot of caps on the offensive side. But if our defense wasn't put together enough to hold them below 5 caps, then we usually lost. And some people will say like, oh yeah, well, if they cap, you lose, blah, blah, blah. That's a dumb statistic. But it was really like 5 caps was the most anyone ever capped against us. All season, I think.
And I think I don't know how it is for other teams, but there's definitely truth, at least for my team. Our final series we got knocked out in. The last 3 games were 5-4, and we lost every single one of them. And just quick glancing at EUs here, it seems like maybe not so uncommon a theme. Maybe worth some further study, but maybe 5 might be a magic number for some reason.
It could be. It was for us for most of the season. I think until like Flaccid would confirm, but the at the start of the playoffs, I think it was if they scored 5 caps, we lost 100% of the time, and if they didn't score 5 caps, we won 100% of the time. Something like that. There was a while that was true. And,
yeah, that's really interesting.
We didn't want to tell anyone because then they just score 5 caps on us and we'd lose.
Huh.
But what was who's our biggest contender? We were a bit scared about the Jazz team, but we thought We the People would take them out for us. I wouldn't say scared. I would say worried about having to play them because watching their series in the Final Four, I was kind of conflicted. I was like, wait, I thought we were gonna play We the People. Like we've been preparing from week 1 to play We the People in the Mooper, and that might seem arrogant, but like, if that didn't turn out to be true, I wouldn't be talking about it. So it's like, yeah, it was just a random prediction.
Right.
So the whole season we were expecting to play them, right? And Jazz's team came very, very close to knocking them out. And like I said, I was conflicted. I was like, wait, shit, if a team beats them, then they're better than them.
Right.
Right. So we don't want to play a team that's better than We the People.
That makes sense.
That's even more scary, right? So when they won, I was kind of like, okay, yeah, I was right. They're the better team. Well, I've been preparing to play them, right?
No, that
So,
makes sense.
we're glad we didn't have to play that other team, even though, was it HGB? There's something. Actually, I forget all the team names.
Yeah,
now.
no, it was HGB. Yep.
We're, you know, it just would have turned the tables a little bit because we hadn't. I don't think we'd played them during the regular season, so we didn't know any of their play style. Whereas we scrimmed We the People multiple times throughout the whole season, so they knew us, we knew them, we knew exactly what we were getting into. Just a really long, scrappy series.
Yo.
So, you know, I was pumped we got that too. 7 games.
Yeah, I mean, and I think we'll end it here with you. I got some things to say about it, but anything else you want to touch on before we let you go?
No. Peace out. Have a good one.
Yep, thanks, Kelvin. See you. All right. I did want to touch real quick because you mentioned the final being the competitive series. The amount of 3-1 comebacks in the playoffs this season, and it wasn't just minors. I know majors had a couple. I'm less certain about novice, but it looks like we had one 7-game series in novice in the playoffs. But we had, I think, 3-1 deficits that were overcome in minors playoffs, and then majors, I believe we had one, which was by the captors, who actually ended up winning the super at the end of it all. So I don't know. Can't trust a 3-1 lead, I guess. I just thought that was interesting.
It's the magical thing about what season 32 brought, with all the extra engagement, people watching. There's so much more pressure, and you know, some people are just built for the moment, and other people aren't, and we saw a ton of that.
True. Yeah, it makes for some. I mean, these series, and I got to be part of one, unfortunately, on the losing end. I mean, it's just so intense, man. As a player, as a viewer, I mean, moving the best of 7 games was the best decision I think a CRC has made. Whoever made that change for the majors minors level, that might be the best change I've seen a CRC make ever.
Do you remember how much pushback there was?
Yes,
it was an NLTP for like.
Yes, and I would argue with Fender. I would argue with Fender on the NLTP subreddit, like 8 years ago about this, about how exciting best of 7 games would be, and I hate to use your term, but just being a boring BDL, you know, just not liking change for the sake of it being change, you know. God, I feel so vindicated. It's such a great addition, I think, to playoffs. It's just so much more exciting. You get tested playing 7 different maps. I think that's a great wrinkle that was added onto it that is a little bit different than how NLTP used to do it back in the day. So yeah, I can't say enough good things about the current playoff format for sure.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right. I think that kind of puts a bow on season 32. Anything else you think we're missing here?
No, honestly. Shout out to Big Bad Ball. You know, that guy didn't get drafted and he won a Super Bowl.
True.
That's such an amazing story. So.
Oh, expansion team. Do you think they would have finished not last and made playoffs? I think they would have.
All right, so you got to remember the Wonder Ball series in week 0
against the Super Bowl champs.
We put the Wonder Ball team against the Super Bowl champs,
and it was relatively competitive.
And that was the shittier expansion team. That wasn't even the okay then team.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Both expansion teams, Wonder Ball and the other one that I can't say on air, both would have made playoffs. I'll say that confidently.
Yeah, I mean, it is funny looking back at it with hindsight, knowing that Toronto ended up winning the Super. Yeah, I wish we could have seen that. I'm all in favor of doing kind of wacky things like that, like an expansion team. I don't know. It's fun, you know.
The full story of expansion teams is crazy, and if I could go on a little ramble here.
Yeah, go ahead.
There were tons and tons of things leading up to it, and I I wish this was fresher in my memory because I'm sure I'm going to leave out some good details here. But we have the captains, the majors captains, who first of all weren't accepting of the original captains that we selected. So then they decided that they're all going to band together and captain. Just like, all right, whatever, I'm cool with that. Then they decided there's too many of them, so they all threatened to quit the league, shrink it down to 10 teams. All that's happening. So we're in a 10-team league, and alongside of this, we have the Bold Roller issue. Bold Roller decided to sign up with comments saying, I'm not going to make any games. So we banned the fuck out of him. Like, it wasn't really a discussion at all. He said, we're not making games, so we're saying, okay, you cannot be drafted. We're not going to deal with you. So all this is happening where we know we want 12 teams. The captains are strong-arming us into 10. We're getting pings from ASAP and Bold saying, let me back in. I'm so sorry. I thought of this idea, I think it was right after the Majors draft, and it wasn't just me thinking about it. I think there were comments in Twitch chat about it where, like, some of the top players that went undrafted were extremely good players. So we thought they could easily be a team if you pair them with someone. We knew we had Bold Roller. We made the mistake of pinging okay then about it. So we announced the expansion teams at like a weird moment where, funny enough, I was not in favor of expansion teams. I think I abstained that vote. Cheese Doodle was asleep the entire time, and it was Big Bad, Spheroid, and PK. The three of them together all like ran away with it. They got the votes they needed. They announced the expansion teams at like midnight or something like that. Started a complete riot. Captains threatening to quit again. Agency making these hyperboles like, why don't we just let Charlotte and Timmy Sumball captain and call it a day? Is that going to be fair? I think before Cheese even could wake up, the CRC revoted against it and pulled it back. So it was a blast. And the reason why I voted against it, interesting enough, is after the draft, a bunch of teams had their first game scrims. The TNG team, whatever they were called, the Toronto Captors, they put in a claim for Big Bad Ball, and after they put in the claim, Big Bad voted to come into the league as an expansion team. So that conflict of interest did not sit well with me, and I thought that it was kind of bad for the league to kind of take away that opportunity for free agency and just move forward with the expansion teams.
Yeah, no, that made sense to me. Interesting note about Big Bad at the end there. What else? Anything else good from season 32? I don't know. Novice, I felt like I heard nothing about, and it seems to have run its course with the champion, but like I felt like I heard no news from them. I wasn't really up to date on how Novice went, so I can't really comment.
Yeah, I really check the Novice channel typically to see like Robiny picking fights with like Marcus Yallo or something.
Right, yeah.
But outside of like when you see that, you know the season's a success. So I call NLTP the season a success.
I like that. Oh, I actually, if you call Novice the season a success, what would you call? Would you have names for minors and major seasons? Would use a different adjective for them?
Are you trying to get me to say something?
No. Well, I watched it's some big college basketball reporter. I forget his name. He had names for the different regions of the NCAA tournament, kind of describing the teams within and their identities. So your comment about calling Novice the season's success, I thought it just reminded me of that.
Yeah, minors was marvelous.
There you go.
Majors was banging.
There you go. Okay. Put some thought in that. I think there's something there. Okay. Anyone else in chat? Season 32. The Cappies came up in chat. I thought those were good. I enjoyed that. I think those were not CRC affiliated. Is that true?
That is true. I think I'll admit I missed the Cappies, and I actually meant to go back and watch it because I think I might have won an award, but
Congrats.
I forgot about them. Thank you.
Yeah, but talk about community engagement. That's a nice thing to see for sure.
Yeah, no, like huge shout out to Timmy for putting that together. I think Like that's like awesome stuff. People like to win awards and see their names on things. So I'd say the only recommendation is next time don't go pinging around people asking for their consent.
Just
You don't
do
need
it.
any of
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Just do it. Yeah.
100%. Disappointed I wasn't nominated for a Cappy, but maybe next season.
Next season, I think you'll absolutely get a Cappy.
Yeah. Hyperball, I don't really count as this season, but I don't know. I feel like that turned out exactly how we thought it would.
Yeah. No, big ups to the Bambi Babes for showing up.
I
doing the
agree.
throw.
And again, I think continues to go towards engagement. You know, like exhibition match from Novice All Stars up against Majors team. That's entertaining.
Actually, no, this is a good topic. This was the first season I can remember where we didn't have just one exhibition match. We had two exhibition
That's
matches.
true. That's true.
Like, both of them were a blast.
Yeah.
Like, I think we need more exhibition matches.
Yeah, the viewership for those were through the roof. I think the Wonder Ball game, we were pushing Super Bowl numbers, and then the Hyper Ball we were getting
it
like
was
50 cents a
100
view.
people.
Yeah, you know. I like that. Yeah, file that away. Exhibition games for season 33. That's a good point.
It all ties into the polls because what people do is they see the poll on it, they bet against the spread, they bet who the winner is going to be, and then they're just like emotionally invested in what's going to happen. And then next thing you know, you get 150 people watching like Bold Roller and a bunch of goons go up against the Super Bowl team.
Yeah. Smalley comments about the NALTP Cup that PK ran a few seasons ago. I think that less hype behind that because it was an in-season tournament. I think people cared less about it because they were so focused on their actual season. And it's hard to be hyped about essentially the entirely second season within a season. I don't know. I think it makes it harder when it's a long running thing like that.
Yeah, that one's tough for me. I think there was like a point in time, I'm going to call it like 2014, where like Tag Pro intensity was at its heyday and people were like scrimming every night, scrimming on weekends. And I think at that time, that's kind of when that fit in. But I think like the last few LTP Cups that happened, like I wouldn't even want to show up. Like it was just more of a chore. I think what makes the exhibition games good is a story, which can't be manufactured. It has to be, natural. And I think when those happen, that's when you bring in the numbies.
Agreed. All right, Chet. Anything else? Season 32. Before we talk about season 33 and maybe changes we want to see for that. I'll give you a couple seconds. And a reminder, you can always call into the Discord. Any tates about season 32 or tates about season 33, join the Nightcap waiting room, and I'll drag you into the stream from there. Okay. Looks like nothing really coming through here. So season 33. First thing I want to talk about, Tyree is running an attorney with this tonight. The no kiss option potentially being implemented into at minimum majors. I would like it in more tiers than that. What's your opinion on potentially implementing no kiss into competitive games?
Yeah, I think I'll start by saying I don't think it should just be majors if it happens. I think it's important that all the leagues are playing with the same rules. I don't think it's beneficial to split it out. I did one tournament, which, in typical Beastmode fashion, got out in the first round with the no-kiss rules. So I didn't get too much exposure. It was on Transilia, which is not particularly too kissy of a map. I would have liked to see it on like Jardim or something, which is a lot kissier.
Yep.
I thought it was extremely interesting, and I don't think I know enough about what happens to the game at this point to make a judgment on if I'm pro or against it. But what I can tell you is it's something that's interesting that could possibly get more people to sign up, and it's not league breaking. So I'm very optimistic towards it, and I think Anti-Re is doing, great work as a new CRC, as a first-time CRC member with these tournaments to test it out and prove out the concept and just get a better read. But if I were to vote today without like any actual true idea of what it's going to look like from map to map, I'd say I'm for it. I think people will just want to sign up for Tag Pro to try this out.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I played that same tourney you were talking about. I actually, made it past the first round, but that's neither here nor there.
Nice one.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
I
good.
thought it was like maybe map dependent. Like I don't think I noticed it terribly much, but I thought it changes how you play enough that I think it's worth implementing. Like to your point, Tag Pro in its heyday was 10 years ago, and at this point we're looking for reasons to play, I think, more so than 100% wanting to play. I don't know if that makes sense, but like keeping things fresh and keeping things interesting is so much more effective in getting people to want to play the game than doing the same thing we've done for the past 5-6 years. And I think it adds enough of a wrinkle that it would entice people to sign up, and I think it would be a fun change. Like I got to juke a couple of chasers by bouncing off of the other flag carrier, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah,
It adds a
I
whole.
was gonna say just that. But
Yeah, it has a whole nother. It's like a mobile map element that you can use, right? And then now suddenly your flag carrier can be part of your contain, right? Because you can't kiss them, so they can corral you into a corner or something like that. And I'm sure there's things we're not thinking of that people would think about or discover as we continue to play with the option on. I think it definitely introduces enough of a wrinkle to make the game more interesting and to shake up some of the, I guess, competitive meta, if you want to call it that, and force people to think and play a little bit differently. So I would be
Definitely.
super in favor of it.
And there's so many plays that just like don't exist yet. So what it could do from like this engagement level when people create a new play because of this,
Yes.
I think that just brings a lot of excitement to the league. So big ups to shout out Kelvin. I think coded that into Tag Pro. I just learned he's a dev. So big ups to Kelvin.
Yeah, shout out, man. That's awesome.
Awesome change.
Yeah. And then I think most people in chat supportive of No Kiss work. The working vocab for that is humps. I don't know if I like that when two No Kiss flag carriers touch each other.
That's a hump.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
I think we can do better.
That's what I think too, but that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, we'll work on it.
Workshop it,
what the
workshop it.
Nightcap community is for.
Yeah, yeah.
We're all here to.
We didn't
strive
get
and
kissing
do
a
better with
day,
each other.
I guess maybe we did get kissing a day, but regardless. Okay, and then another potential interesting change I saw in Major's discussion, tinkering with acceleration and top speed slightly. And I think for the same reasons I like No Kiss, I think I like this too. It's enough of a change to make you think and play a little differently. And I think that makes it fresh and exciting. So I'd be
Can I
down to
ask who-
tinker with it.
Who recommended that one?
I saw a couple of people talking about it. I'm not sure where it came from. I really don't know. So if someone in chat knows, but I saw people talking about like 110% acceleration or similar for top speed.
Yeah, so as much as I love what No Kiss can do for the league, nothing would make me pull my sign up faster than fucking with the physics. And I think the best way I could describe it is there's like this magic in Tag Pro that's kept people playing and engaged and brings people in for so long. And some of it's the community, but with the game itself, to me, that magic is all in the physics engine. Like it's just perfect. And the amount that skill can vary with this engine to create multiple tiers of gameplay is just it's all the magic in Tag Bro. And to me, what fucking with speed and acceleration does is it equalizes everyone in a way,
See,
makes people learn something else, and to me, it's just at that point fucking with things just to fuck with it.
yeah, I don't know that I agree with that. I think less of a equalizer. I think I don't know. It allows more skill expression. I think, to me, I, I would like to play some games with it to see how it seems. But I think it opens up opportunity for faster play, which I think makes for more exciting and potential highlight-worthy play too.
Have you ever played on like Tag Pro Next Physics?
Yeah, I played some of the test server. Yeah.
It was garbage. Like everyone hated
Well,
it to the point where Lucky Spammer abandoned his game.
Well, that's because he got rid of
everyone hated it so
non-normalized
much.
movement, right? Which is what
It was
the
non-normalized
staple.
movement, but it was also different physics, which I think was equally as jarring.
Okay, hold on. Let me get Yelpa in here. He's been waiting a little while.
All right, bring him in.
Hey, Yelpa, what's up, man?
Hey, it was me.
Oh, okay. Well, then
It
tell
was
me about it.
me that brought up the topic. And yeah. It was like 4 minutes ago. I wanted to come in here and say that, so I don't know what I wanted to say now.
Well, tell me why you brought it up. Why you think it's an idea worth introducing.
Okay, so I've been streaming for the better part of what, 2.5 years now. Like almost every week of competitive games, at least having one game each week. The game is so slow to watch, man.
I kind of agree with that.
It's
Yeah.
slow to watch. It's like I'm watching Chris Jericho versus Rod Van Dam out there. It's like I'm watching Pee Wee Indy 500 action out there. I'm just like, I need some speed, man. I just need you to pick up the pace a little bit. I just need you to just vroom, 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 motherfucker. Just vroom a little bit more. Not a lot more, a little bit more. And yeah, I was not advocating for just making a change. Of course, you want to test this. You want to put this in there, put it through the blender, see if the community actually likes it at 105% velocity. If you want to take advantage of the physics-based engine as it is written to say use that equation that we know that keeps acceleration relevant to velocity. If maybe that's 105, 125, 105 velocity, 125 acceleration. The point is to play around with it and do something, because it is really fucking slow out here, and the people I've tried to bring into, which is another fucking story I'd like to bring up with the sweaties, but that's not for here and now. The people I tried to bring into the game, who I've shown the game to, that's they don't complain about the graphics first. They complain about how slow it is.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I hadn't thought of it, but you're right. I mean, I don't stream nearly as much as you do, but when I do stream, I mean, depending on the map, it really is such a snooze to watch.
I mean, the games now are faster than the games that Lucky attended in the alpha and the beta stage.
Yep.
Because I don't know how many of y'all motherfuckers were out here playing 11 years ago like me, but the game was even slower then. It was like 50%, not even 50%, like 20% of our current velocity and acceleration that was being used at the time. And that's why you had maps like Figure 8, because no one knew what a map was. Lucky didn't know what a map was. The game is faster than it was then, and the physics, the way that the game interprets the physics engine has changed since the early days, and it's still slow. It's still just a little too slow.
Yeah, I think like I said, I would be down to try it at the minimum. I see Kelvin said he would reach out to Anti-Race, see if they can do 110% tourney. I think that would be worth trying.
Yeah, a lot of people don't seem particularly happy with Anti-Re right now.
Oh, I don't know why that is.
I'm currently watching the final of the tournament tonight, which was pretty well done. There were some changes to the rules that caught me off guard, but I got a working spreadsheet out of that. 8 teams here, slightly different format. We're in the finals. Anti-Reed's in the finals. He drafted Vic, but Vic's not playing, and I think people are a little hung up about that because his substitutes Inspire.
I see.
I guess people don't think Inspire and Vic are the same level, which Inspire and Vic are right now are both saying, yeah, I think we're the same level. Everyone else is saying, what are you on about, Mike? Come off the fucking chain, Mike.
Okay. Yelpa, thank you. Anything else you want to get into?
Oh, so much. So much. But that's about the sweaties, and y'all ain't ready for that.
Alright. Well, thank you very much.
Whee!
We did have a question from Kelvin in chat, Beast. So he brought up there's an option for no kiss mode where it would include tag pros being unable to kiss each other. Would you go that far, or would you like to see that first, or?
I just don't care so much about that. I think either way you choose on that one is the right decision.
Well, I would challenge you and say, isn't changing how a tag pro works as much of a core mechanic as what you're saying the physics of game speed and acceleration are?
Now that I've given it 5 seconds of thought, 2 tag pros touching each other should kill each other.
Okay.
Because that would mean having a tag pro gives you invincibility from other tag pros, which is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, so, and that brings up an interesting point. So Kelvin says his justification is that tag pro is more fun when people die less. So, just not having tag pros kiss all the time, less deaths.
Yeah, let's just take out spikes while we're at
Right,
it.
right. But what you say is interesting. Not only forgetting that, but it like really buffs I think really buffs a tag pro, right? Because now it's essentially a 20-second rolling bomb that doesn't expire. And I think rolling bombs and juju's, if you did make that change, really pale in comparison to what a tag pro would be worth. And I think most people would agree tag pro's already the most powerful power up by a decent margin. So that's interesting. You might have to end up finding ways to buff other power ups, which could lead to some interesting discussions and results.
Yeah, maybe make juju's not die when you get touched by a tag pro next. That was facetious.
No, I understand. Well, I don't know if this is the place for it, but maybe if people have takes for how you could improve juju's and rolling bombs further, I'd be interested to hear that. I think
You're not gonna get any of that from me, but
yeah.
if we want to talk about this latest rolling bomb move, as when was this? Like a year ago, 2 years ago, they did it.
Yeah,
I think the spacebar is a big win for the development team.
I agree, massive win.
It's huge. So maybe more spacebar mechanics can be. Maybe when you have a juke juice, hitting spacebar gives you like a little speed boost.
Kind of like a NOS situation, like a nitrous boost. Let's see here. Yeah, I think to me, tag pros should die people should die when they touch a tag pro, unless they have a rolling bomb. Is how I look at it. I think to me that's challenging core mechanics a little too much to disable that for other people with tag pros.
Yeah, I've been swayed.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this from Kelvin. This is fire here. Hitting spacebar with a juke juice would make the juke juice go away, but it gives you a boost. That's fire.
That is fire, dude. Wait a minute.
Absolutely play with that in like the back end, because that's something that'll just be like completely game changing. I love that idea.
Yeah, like I'm just imagining you have your increased acceleration, so like you swing around an OD player to set up a lane in the flag, spam spacebar, change your momentum at the last second to shoot you into the lane you just made for yourself and cap, stuff like that.
You know, the amount of like boost blocks you're gonna see coming out of nowhere, the amount of caps between split blocks because of that. That's that's some revolutionary shit, Calvin, and
Yeah, I
I
like that a
highly
lot.
support at least experimenting with it to see what it looks like. And now in chat we're getting we need spacebar effect for a tag pro, and I think the easy one for that is you lose the tag pro, but it like shoots like a laser beam at someone and kills them.
Well, I think I struggle with that again. I think just because of how powerful it already is.
But Juke Juice, a boosting Juke Juice might be the best power up in the game, so you might need to nerf that by making a tag pro a little.
I don't know.
A little
Do you
better.
think it would suddenly be more valuable than a tag pro? I'm not so sure.
I don't know.
But
It'd
a
be fucking
lawnmower
sick, though, I'll tell you
becomes like 100 times more oppressive than it already is.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, here's one. What happens if you have the rolling bomb and the juke juice with the new mechanic, and then you press spacebar? Do you explode and boost at the same time? Would you boost and then have maybe a delay till the explosion?
I think it triggers in the. Yeah, trigger order could be an issue. I think if you were, I don't know how coding works, but I think initial thought you maybe trigger in the order you pick them up.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Even though we probably have to code a new tag pro to make that happen.
Yeah, so that's a fair point. Or you just make it so that a juices trigger is a different keyboard button, but then do you really want to add a bunch of keyboard triggers? I don't know. Yeah, Smalley suggesting for the tag pro, it kind of creates a ring of death within like 2 tiles, and then it expires if you trigger it. I think I just don't like that because again, it's already like really easy to kill people. To give a guaranteed, like I don't know, 8x8 tile space with no one allowed to be within it. I don't know. That seems overpowered to me.
How about this? If you press spacebar with a tag pro, you just lose it, and you fucked up for pressing spacebar.
True.
I think that's how we equalize it all. So you still have the opportunity for a spacebar mechanic, but you just lose it.
So Kelvin, since you're in chat, I'd be interested. How would you, if you had multiple power-ups that had spacebar triggers, how would you consider incorporating that? Kelvin framing it as a rolling juice is a rolling boost, RB is a rolling bomb, so then tag pro would be a rolling spike. I kind of like that framing of it.
Yeah, so you shoot out a green egg.
I don't know if I
kills
like the
anyone.
egg idea.
I think it should shoot out a green egg that turns the game into egg ball from here, and then instead of playing tag pro, just someone activated egg ball, so you're playing egg ball now.
Yeah, and then he agrees pickup order with the older pup being triggered first. Yeah, I think that made sense to me, and it makes thinking about, not that you already think about what pups you're gonna fight for, but makes you put a little bit more thought into it, which I think is interesting too. Like, do I want to have my rolling trigger first? Do I not? I think it adds a little bit extra complexity, which is nice. Okay, so sounds like we are going to implement all of this in season 33. So Kelvin, you've got about 2 weeks, I think. I don't know. And anything else from you, Beast? I don't think we're gonna get any more callers in here. So
No, like I say, just a few shout outs. Shout out all of Nightcap Twitch chat. Shout out Ball Anka for doing the Nightcap. Shout out marching bands. I just love marching bands, man.
Yep.
That's about it. I'm gonna head out. Let you close out.
Yep. See you, man. Thanks.
See ya.
Appreciate Beastmode coming on tonight, and we did a couple of these with Beastmode throughout the season. For first time having a CRC member semi-regularly join me on these, so I appreciate that. I think that was a nice addition to the program for this season. Yeah, no, I think on the programming note, I titled this as maybe the final Nightcap, kind of jokingly. I'm uncertain if I'll do these moving forward. I think the format might be slightly played out. I kind of want to come up with a different content format. So I guess maybe stay tuned on news for that. I'll think about it. But I do want to try to mix things up and do some different things rather than continuing to do this and letting it get stale. So appreciate all of you that tuned in. Looking forward to season 33. And well, I appreciate it, guys. But yeah, we'll see. If you got suggestions, feel free to DM me. Because I'd like to continue making content for sure. So, all right, we'll see you later. Thanks for tuning in. GG's, everyone.